and welcome back to another episode of Our Mess, His Canvas, the podcast. I am your host, Juvon. Today, we're going to touch on a few topics: the road that leads to self-discovery, the perfect calm before a calamity, and the importance of community. I left my full-time job to migrate to the US, where I became a full-time mom. I became a stay-at-home mom, and coming from the Caribbean, there is a mindset or a belief or understanding that that particular role is not exactly celebrated. It's not exactly recognized. You're just a housewife. And so I came in already with certain insecurities about being a full-time mom. So we had moved to this place where I had no family, I had no friends. However, I had a new slate, new opportunities for me to just get a chance to discover who I was. And I embraced it. I embraced the fact that I didn't have to get up every morning to rush through traffic, to do drop off to school, then reach to work. Then come and beat the traffic to go back home, pass in the grocery, pick up a few things, come home, just all the things. I really embraced not having to deal with that hustle. I saw it as an opportunity and I embraced that. So coupling the insecurity with the fact that this is also a blessing, I tried to find a balance, and I got to a space where I was like, okay, yes, I have this opportunity, but now I have to overperform. So I got into taking on this role as a full-time mommy and a wife. So I had all of these things that I needed to check, all of these checklists and things that I have to do, because I can't fail in this area, right? Like, what is the excuse? You're not working. So I just found myself just trying to overperform. Still feeling a little bit insecure, like I don't know if I'm doing this the right way. I don't know if I'm feeding my kids the right thing. I don't know if I'm preparing enough meals. I don't know if achieving exactly what I'm supposed to achieve now that I am this full-time stay-at-home mom and housewife. I didn't know if I was checking all the boxes, but I was trying to, because it just felt like I did not have another excuse. I have to perform in this area because this is my job. So over time, I found myself making sure I crunch all the numbers and making sure that we don't overspend on certain things, because there was this guilt that I was not providing financially to our family. And so I felt like it was my responsibility now. I can't spend a bad dollar. But with that came me getting to a place of making sure that everyone was taken care of. And I started to neglect myself. I started to think, well, you're not working, so I started to think about the fact that I was not working. And so then I have to make sure that everyone is taken care of. So to make sure that everybody's needs were being met. Trying to overachieve in every area, because, as I said, this is my job now. And I have to perform, and I have to perform well, because I don't have an excuse. Not stopping to think about the fact that this was brand new for me. Not only is it brand new, but I'm in a brand new place. I'm in a brand new environment. I have no support. Outside of, yes, the partner collaboration, there was no support for me to tap out if I needed a break during the day. It was just me, these kids, and by the time your partner comes home in the evening time, they are tired. So, you just adjust and take whatever is left. So we were making really good progress as a family. Things started to go really well. Got a new vehicle. So now I can move around as I want. So I'm learning this new area. I'm learning my surroundings. I'm developing a routine. As time went on, we bought a new house. And we moved on to getting my first daughter into school while taking care of the other little one at home. But I still found myself coming up short. I still found myself feeling like I'm not, there are some things that I just feel like I'm not achieving that. I find like it was a struggle for me to even keep my house clean. Like, it was such a struggle not understanding. Like, listen, y'all are living. This is a living space. It's a space that y'all are living in. Meanwhile, you are actively taking care of other human beings. Eventually, I found a tribe of women who were also stay-at-home moms. And let me tell you, that community of women just changed so much of my perspective as to what it meant to perform in the role of being a stay-at-home mom. They taught me the value of my role. They showed me how much I mattered. And they also taught me the importance of self-care, which I thought at that time was just selfish. But they showed me, like, listen, this whole operation is riding on you. The mere fact that your partner can go out and do the job that they do and don't have to worry about anything else is because you're holding everything down. And that's not something that you should just take lightly. Like, you matter. Your role is very important. It's just as important as the person who's providing financially. They are able to do that without worrying because you have everything else under control. So that's when I started to say, okay, yes, that is true. That's who I am. And I started to develop that confidence. I started to really operate on my own. So, whereas I may have mentioned before in the last episode that I was so terrified of doing things on my own, now I had the confidence to go out there and just jump in my car, load my kids up, and go. I'm seeing how effortless they make it seem. I am learning who I was independently, like standing on my own. I can see now all of the things that I am able to accomplish, all the things that I can do. Now that I had this newfound confidence, now that I had this new idea of what my role means, but also not erasing myself in these roles, thinking that I have to overperform because I'm thinking that I don't have a job. This is a job. I started to embrace and feel empowered in the fact that I could just get up and go, that I could get things done without having to wait until my partner comes home so that we can go and do this. Because, at the end of the day, they're tired too. And I felt like, well, now this is my time, not understanding it. This person just came from a whole long day of work and they just want to do nothing more but sit back, relax. So finally stepped into that space of not having to wait to do certain things, not having to wait to just get basic things done, like going to the store, going to the grocery, just getting the kids registered for school, finding a new spot, a new farmer's market, a new place, just discovering new things. I didn't have to wait. I had that confidence now to get up and get things done on my own. And boy, let me tell you, having a community of women, having a community when you realize that you are not the only person. Your struggles are not specific to just you, that there are other women who have the same struggles, who face the same challenges, who feel the same needs, the same fears, the same insecurity. They face all of those things. Just having a community of women who can say, yeah, girl, me too. Yeah, but you know what? This is what helped me. Yes, I understand. I see you and I hear you. That is a very valid concern. Just receiving that validation from other women, it was such a game changer for me. It really did help mold me into gaining that confidence and that empowerment to move forward. And now I have the time, I have the energy, I have the confidence, and I have the resources. I felt like I could just do everything at this point. And so I was operating in a place where, I was just getting everything done. We got to a place where everything just seemed perfect. We had a new car, we had a new house, we had a good church, the kids, my daughter's going to a good school. I already know which school that my other daughter is going to. We live in a nice neighborhood. My dream gym was just about 15 minutes away. The area is nice. I have a nice community of women. I have a good circle of friends. Everything just seemed perfect. Like, at that point in time, I couldn't ask for anything better. And let me tell you, it was perfect to the point where, as husband and wife, it gets into a place where the arguments move from face to face to sometimes it goes into text message. And you know the paragraphs. You send a paragraph and they send in a paragraph. Things were so perfect. I couldn't remember the last time I sent a paragraph in an argument. Like, perfect. And I felt like, yes, we are here. This was the missing piece. This is what was missing. You know, we don't have the strain of one person working away from home and then one person just home alone having to hold everything down and being under that pressure of having to perform as a single parent and having to take care of everything alone while your partner is all the way working on a rig or working away from home, working offshore, working just far away in a different country. We got to a place where there was the perfection of they're working 2 blocks away from their home. I have the freedom, the liberty, the confidence to just get up and operate on my own and get things done without having to wait for somebody, without being afraid of, gosh, I have to go here and do this by myself, without being afraid of doing anything by myself at all. I had gained that confidence and the strength, and I had the community of women who was so empowering and taught me about self-care, about prioritizing myself, the importance of my role as a stay-at-home mom. I am the pilot of this whole operation, and if something were to happen to me, this whole thing will just get shut down. They taught me why it was so important for me to make sure and take care of myself. So I just felt like we had gotten to that pinnacle of this is perfection. I couldn't ask for anything else. But, you know, just as life has its moments, and there is always that moment where things seem like it's almost temporary. That perfect moment came to an almost grinding halt because of changing job opportunities, just changing the whole trajectory of what life looked like at that point. So from everything being a place of perfection, now I'm back to a place where I'm operating as a single parent. There was the comfort of, at least this is just during the day, and in the nighttime your family is back together. Now I'm back to a place where, because of the job requirements at the time demanding for their employees to work in the same state, now that they have moved to a different state, I found myself back in a place where I am operating as a single parent. That moment of perfection, it was brief, it was beautiful, but now it was gone. I remember when I was back home and I had to be operating in that single parent role. Now to have to handle taking care of the home, taking care of the kids, and making sure everyone was taken care of by myself while my partner had to be away for work out of state. Just the whole idea that the reason why we moved here in the first place was so that we wouldn't have any more of these days. The whole reason why we made the decision to move, why I left my full-time job to be a full-time parent, be a stay-at-home parent, to be a housewife. Now we got to a place where everything was running so smoothly. I hated the idea that I was back to being a single parent. At that point, I had understood the value and the importance of being in a community. I joined a single moms group. As crazy as it sounds, it was my reality at the time. I was a single parent. I was operating in the role of a single parent, going out with other single parents at the time, single moms at the time, who just sharing all of their struggles of what it is to be operating alone. How do you perform? How do you pour from an empty cup? How do you pour out to your kids? How you hold down being mom and dad when you for yourself, you're not getting any of your needs met? How do you perform in that? Just having that community of people who have a shared experience and can share their knowledge, and you can get that validation and just tips to move forward. It really was a great help for me. I didn't like it, but I made the best of what was being presented at the time. So even though it was not the ideal arrangement, something I didn't pay attention to was the fact that now I'm well equipped. I don't have the pressure of having to show up for a job, rush through traffic, get my kids to school in time, and then go and work and do all the hustle and bustle. I did not have that pressure on me. However, I had everything that I needed. I had a comfortable home. I had the resources. I had the finances to make sure that things were taken care of around the home to make sure that we didn't go without. Yes, I may not have had anybody pouring back into me at that point in time, but not having that added pressure and learning the importance of self-care, I was able to pour into my kids. I was able to pour into them when their little hearts were hurt that their other parent isn't home and they're sad about it. I had the grace to pour into them, to calm their hearts, to soothe their worries and their anxiety. They were heartbroken every time the family had to be separated again, and it was rough. I can tell you that that's when the long text messages started back. Everything that I felt was perfect for our family at that time. We had to break everything up. We had to dismantle everything. We put the house back up on the market. Just pack everything up to move for the sake of regaining that family time. As tough as it was to dismantle everything, we made that move. It was rough. But we saw the value and the importance of having a family together. And that was the road to my discovery, my self-discovery. In that role, I didn't have the support of family. I did not yet have friends. For a moment in time, I didn't even have a vehicle to move around with. That is when God started to show me, hey, this is how you can operate on your own. You don't have to wait on anybody to get things done. You don't have to put the responsibility on anybody to start operating. I look back at the way in which God started to set me up. He knew what was going to be happening along the way. He knew what was going to take place. He knew, all right, we're going to get back to a place where you have to operate in a role that seems very familiar. But now I'm going to give you new tools. You're going to learn how to be on your own. You're going to learn how to get things done on your own. You're going to learn the ability you have to get things done. You are going to learn your strengths, your capabilities, and how to operate without having to wait on somebody else, without having to put the responsibility of somebody else to attain your happiness and to attain your sense of fulfillment. I am going to teach you how to do that. And so that is what God did in that moment, where things seemed to a point where things were perfect. I learned how to be independent. I really enjoyed having to put in a place where it embraced the whole idea of the role that I had to play in that moment, which was a stay-at-home mom. That where I moved to just embraced in that community, in that city, in that state, there were more stay-at-home moms than there were working moms. And so I felt comfortable. I felt at home. I felt at peace. I felt like I could embrace this role and be proud of it and not feel insecure that, oh, well, I don't have a job. You know, God really taught me in that moment how to be independent and how to operate. I learned that city like the back of my hands. I learned the back roads. I learned shortcuts. I learned, okay, if you don't want to take the highway, you could take this way. Like there was not a road that I did not know how to get there. I found shortcuts to get everywhere. There was nothing in that moment that I felt like I could not do. God got me to that place. Like He really trained me and got me to that place. Every area in which I felt like I was lacking, I got the opportunity at that point to really perform in that area. Just learning how to operate proficiently in that role. God really got me to that place where I was able to do that, where I was able to learn how to do those things. And it was a great setup for whatever had to happen next. Just looking back at the way in which God really set me up, put me in a place where I was able to discover who I was and to give me all of the tools to be strong, to be efficient, to be proficient, to be effective, to just learning all of the rules, the way in which to operate when I don't have a partner living with me, and still being able to get things done, still being able to just do things around the home that primarily is a male role, like, you know, just cutting my grass and edging my lawn and just mounting up a cupboard or a bookshelf, or just operating in a way that I don't have to suffer if I don't have that male presence. I did not have to feel deprived. Of course, there were the areas in which I felt deprived, but I did not feel like I could not operate or I was out of sorts without that male presence. And just looking at how far I came from not even wanting to go anywhere, not even wanting to leave the home because I had to go by myself and I didn't want to do that. So I just bouncing, loading up my kids, going and just achieving so much, achieving great things, just learning. I learned so much about myself in that little time. I loved the person that I was. I loved the woman that I was growing into, the woman that I had grown to become, the woman that God knew was inside of me this entire time. God showed me, and I got myself surrounded by so many women who saw value in me that I was not seeing in myself. That to me just showed the importance of community. I hold them, they are so there. They are so dear to my heart. I don't know if they will ever know how crucial, how important they were in me getting to a place of discovering who I really was on the inside. Getting me to a place where I was able to bring out all of these qualities about me that I didn't even know existed. So yes, my parents may have been worried about the fact that I moved to the States, yes, but I was so far away and I didn't have that support. But I was just glad that I did not have any external pressure to perform in a certain capacity. I did not have to live up to preconceived notions as to this is how you're supposed to perform in this particular role. If I didn't get it right, I didn't get it right, and I didn't have anybody who knew me to say, hey, you ain't getting it right. I just appreciated the fact that I had the ability to learn how to be who I was and get it wrong and be okay that nobody was there to witness me getting it wrong. Nobody was there to witness me struggling to get it right. And even when I was struggling to get it right, I had a community of women who were cheering me on and say, so what? So what if your house not clean? So what if you don't get all of the things done? So what if the day ends and you didn't get all of the laundry? So what? They showed me the importance of me just being present. They showed me the importance of me just being in this role of holding everything down and how important it was for me to even have the ability to perform in that role. They taught me so many life hacks. I really got the opportunity to deconstruct so many toxic misconceptions that I had. And I really am grateful that God gave me a safe place to train and to learn and to become who I had to become for whatever happened next. I leave today with you the importance of community. Finding that community. It is such a great help when you recognize that you are not struggling alone. Sometimes you're going through something and you're afraid to say, hey, I'm struggling with this because you don't know how it's going to be received and you don't know if you're going to get validation. Finding a community is so important in whatever role. If whatever role that you're performing in that you feel you need support in that area, find some form of support. There is value and importance in finding a community where you recognize and you learn and you understand that you're not alone. It is so important that you recognize that you're not alone. One of the tricks, one of the tactics of the enemy is to isolate you and to get you to feel like, well, you're not good enough. You're not doing this good enough. Once you're in a place where you are by yourself and the only voice you're hearing is the echoes of the enemy trying to pull on your insecurities and talk to you from that place, you ain't good enough. You're alone struggling here. Nobody else struggling like you. You're the only person who can't get it together and can't get this right. Don't listen to that voice. Do not listen to the lies of the enemy. Find truth, find a community, find a group, get that validation, get the tips that you need, and get going into discovering you, discovering everything that God has placed within you. If you're in a moment where whatever life has presented to you has caused you to be in a place where you have to operate on your own, embrace it. Find the ways in which you can embrace those moments. It may not be forever, but it may be the only way in which you can develop a particular skill that you did not even know you had. You didn't even know you had the ability to do certain things. You would not have known unless you were put into a particular situation. You had no choice and you realized things about yourself that you never knew existed. So embrace that moment. So I will leave today with that tip. Good news, I finally got onto Apple Podcasts, so you can tune in there. Next week, I will dive more into the grace that God gives in order to handle the grief. That, I think, brings me to the end of today's session. If this has resonated with you in any way, if you need to ask any questions, a tip, a perspective, just drop it in the comments. If it's something that you feel like you need to ask more privately, my email is ourmesshiscanvas@gmail.com, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, ourmesshiscanvas. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode. Have an amazing rest of your week.